See, these are the six marking criterias that we have. Okay, so if you look at the marking criterias, you'll understand that you have one is your purpose. That means whenever you're writing your letter, the purpose of your letter should be very specifically written in your letter. That means when you're making your letter, the purpose, the initial part, like why are you writing this letter? Is it for is it to continue care, or is it for is it to a social worker? What exactly are you trying to achieve through that letter? That is what makes your purpose. So that purpose should be very specifically written. And what OET is describing about the purpose is whether the purpose of the letter is immediately apparent to the reader and sufficiently expanded in the course of the letter. So that means whatever purpose you are writing, it should be immediately apparent. That means it should be easily understandable by the reader or to the reader, and it should be sufficiently expanded in the course of the letter. That means whatever you are writing as a body paragraph, or whatever you're writing as a like whatever you write in the body paragraph of the letter, it should be an expansion of your purpose. Okay, so that's what you mean by um, this thing. Okay, the second one is known as content, whether all the necessary information is included and accurate for the reader. So this is kind of tricky because um, you have to decide what is necessary, what is unnecessary. And the best way to decide what is necessary and unnecessary is by figuring out the purpose of the letter. Like if you are writing it to a social worker, you have to write only the things that social worker might require or might need to know. Okay, so writing a lot of medical information, or writing a lot of information about what happened to the patient clinically, and all those things are going to score you down, because obviously, because that's not something that the reader of the letter is interested to know, or it's not useful for him. Okay, so that's why the content has to be careful. All the necessary information should be written. And the third marking criteria, conciseness and clarity, which says any unnecessary information that you are writing, any that you think should be omitted from your letter. That means you don't have to write anything that is unnecessary. Obviously, yes, you have to decide what is necessary, what is not necessary, based on the what are you requesting. So we'll, like, once we start discussing a sample answer, we'll be able to get a better idea about it. Okay, so that's the third marking criteria. The fourth one is called as genre and style. So this genre and style actually means the tone, register, and like what kind of language you should be using when you're trying to communicate, or what kind of language should be, like, for example, if you're writing to someone who is of the same medical discipline like that of you, maybe if you're writing to another nurse, then you can probably use a lot of like whatever terms that a nurse would understand, is okay to use there. Okay, on the other hand, if you're writing it to a bystander, you can obviously understand that the bystander may not be able to figure out everything that a nurse tells. Okay, or whatever, like for example, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. You decide to write COPD in your letter, and you're writing it to a bystander. So obviously, you can understand that the bystander may not be able to understand what a chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is, right? So instead of, or maybe writing the words like angina, we know that it's chest pain, or myocardial infarction. We know that it's heart attack. So if you're writing it to a bystander, try to go with words that he might understand. Like instead of writing myocardial infarction, you can write heart attack, simple. So make it understandable, or use your tone, abbreviations, or whatever you're using in your letter should be according to the reader, and he should be able to figure it out. Okay, so that flexibility has to be demonstrated when you're writing your letter. That means you should not go with a very strict and a straightforward pattern of writing a letter, because that can show the lack of flexibility in your language, and you may be scored down for that. Okay, then another most important aspect of your letter is organization and layout. Okay, so what do you mean by organization layout is that how you organize informations from the case notes. Okay, so obviously you can understand that the information that you have in case notes are not going to be the most appropriate order in which you have to have the information in your letter. Okay, that means the order in which the information is provided in the case notes might not always be appropriate. Okay, so you might have to select information and organize it according to the according to the, what do you say, like, or you organize it in such a way that it's easy for the reader to understand what you're trying to say. Okay, and then finally, this is the marking criteria that uh, Gaurav was talking about. It's called language. This is the marking criteria where your accuracy of grammar, vocabulary, spelling, punctuation, and all those things are monitored. So if you make a grammatical error, you may be scored down on this particular marking criteria. That means, but the good thing about that is, like, you don't have to show a range of grammar here. Okay, so like that, what you have in your IELTS, where they have where they are evaluating your grammatical range. Here you may not have to show that you have a variety of grammatical aspects, but it will give you scores if you do that. But what they are asking is that it should communicate the necessary information to the reader. That means whatever information that you are including should be properly communicated. So that means if you are making if you are making a sentence, it should be it should have that meaning proper.